Episode 1. The Divine Library. Swindler! Great swindler! An enraged roar was heard, followed by the sound of flurried footsteps on a blue stone pavement. Xavier raised both his hands helplessly and said, "I'm not a swindler! I'm a teacher of the academy! I only want to make you my student! Besides, must you throw around the title great? You make it sound as though I'm some unpardonable criminal." Shaking his head, he recalled the words of the principal and sighed. "This is the 17th one already. If I fail to find a student today, I'll have to pack up my stuff and leave tomorrow." Xavier wasn't a person from this world. Rather, he was just an ordinary librarian from an ordinary high school. All he could remember was blazing flames, followed by nothing. When he awoke, he found himself in a new world. In this world, martial arts were the most important tool for survival. The stronger the person was in these arts, the more supreme they were. At first, Xavier thought that since he had traversed into another world, he would become a useless talent who suffered countless rejections from others. However, it didn't take him long to realize that he wasn't a student. Rather, he was a teacher. But it also didn't take him long to discover that he was the most pathetic teacher in the entire academy. The lectures conducted by other teachers were always overflowing with people, to the point that many students found themselves without seats. In his classes, however, he never had a single student. Eventually, they ended up labeling him as a swindler. Putting aside the fact that the man whose body he had taken over in this world was the weakest teacher on the campus, he was inept in picking out talents. He did teach one student, but it was a total failure. He had caused the student's cultivation to go berserk. Cultivation in this world was the magical power that each martial artist had. Having a student's cultivation go crazy the way it did under his instruction was like having a dead patient under a doctor's record. His reputation was sullied, and he became a despised figure in the academy. Even the freshmen chose to stay away from him, fearful that they would land in the same situation if they were to fall into his clutches. A bad track record and a lack of students caused him to be ranked last in the academy's teacher qualification examination last year. He even received the very first 0 score in the entire history of the academy. Depressed, the previous host of the body had drowned his sorrows with alcohol. In the end, just as he wished, he died. This provided an opportunity for Xavier to leap into this world. At the start of the new term, the academy issued an ultimatum to him. If he was unable to admit a single student to his lesson at the start of the semester, his qualifications as a teacher would be revoked. There were 17 new students who passed by his classroom today, but as soon as they heard his name, they all ran as fast as they could. "I have to find a way to coax at least one of them into my lessons," Xavier thought. Just as he was scheming how to rope someone into his lesson, he saw a lady with a slightly dazed expression standing at the entrance. "May I know if this is August Jenkins' classroom?" She had a cute, refined appearance, and her sweet voice felt like honey to one's ears. August Jenkins was the academy's star teacher. His lessons were always packed, and he was the reason why innumerable people chose to attend this academy. Seeing someone walking straight into his trap, Xavier's eyes lit up. "I'll take her!" All kinds of acting cool techniques he learned in his previous life flashed in his mind. He chose to sit quietly in his chair, bringing out the disposition reminiscent of a composed and enlightened expert. "You wish to become his student?" The young lady nodded her head as admiration gleamed in her pitch-black pupils. "I've heard that August Jenkins is the most incredible teacher in Englewood Academy. All the students he's taught have achieved extraordinary accomplishments. Joining his class in itself could be considered an honor." Rumors may not necessarily reflect the truth. Teachers are just like shoes. What is important is whether they fit or not. No matter how well he lectures, if the theories he proposed aren't compatible with the techniques you practice, not only will you find it hard to advance into higher realms, but your cultivation might also regress. Even if a teacher isn't well known, as long as his theories complement your skills, you can still improve swiftly, and your cultivation will rise exponentially.
Is that so? I've also heard my elder brother speaking similar words before.
The young lady pondered as uncertainty flashed across her eyes.
However, I don't know what kind of lessons would suit me.
Seeing that she was on the verge of taking the bait, Xavier's eyes lit up. He scanned his mind for wise quotes from great sages like Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, and he slowly sieved through his next words. Feigning a look of difficulty, he said, "Our meeting can be considered as the planning of fate as well. How about this? Since I'm also a teacher of this academy, I'll help you take a look at your bones, talent, and personality and recommend a suitable teacher to you."
Teacher? I'll be troubling you then.
She didn't expect a teacher she met by chance would be so accommodating. "Display your cultivation first." Xavier's eyes were half open, and his slightly lazy and casual posture seemed to say that this matter was merely a walk in the park for him. A gust of wind whistled through the room from the shockwave generated by the might of the young woman's punch. Waves of spiritual energy gathered and shrouded her body. Judging from how her spiritual energy didn't dissipate immediately, and by her powerful but inconspicuous aura, she clearly possessed a solid foundation in her cultivation. "All right. I can tell that you've been training diligently. Your foundation is solid, and your talent is top-notch. You are a hard-to-come-by genius." After she finished her punching routine, Xavier immediately nodded in satisfaction. He was imitating the fortune tellers from the world he came from, using slippery words that had a wide range of interpretations. He did this so that those listening would struggle to find a flaw in his words. Instead, they would be astonished by how accurate his evaluation was. "What stands out is the strength of your legs. They possess immense might, like a coiling dragon. Every single movement felt like the raging current of a river, overwhelming with strength. As long as you train hard, your future will be bright." She looked doubtful.
Teacher, my legs are injured. The physicians that have diagnosed me said that I'm practically crippled.
Xavier's face flushed. Injured? However, as he was thick-skinned, it was impossible for her to pick up on his anxiety. He continued on as if he was unfazed. "Do you think I can't tell? I knew it from the moment you exerted your strength. The reason I said that is because only through destruction will there be rebirth. Your legs might be injured, but this has presented you with an opportunity. As long as you grasp it, your legs will become your greatest strength." The most important matter at hand was to coax her in. If nonsense could do the trick, he would prattle nonsense all day long.
"Opportunity? Teacher, what kind of opportunity do you mean?"
Hearing those words, her eyes lit up. Ever since her legs were injured, she had always felt inferior to others, resulting in her low self-esteem. She didn't think that such misfortune would ever present her with an opportunity instead. If you grasp this opportunity tightly, you will soar to the top in a single go. It won't be too difficult for you to reign supreme among the freshmen. After all, your talents are extraordinary, and a genius of your caliber has yet to appear in history. However, Xavier went on and on. Upon hearing that she was a genius capable of rising to the top of the freshmen, the girl blushed.
"However, what?"
Xavier sighed. However, it was a sigh lamenting that a talent was about to be buried in the dirt. The teachers who are able to notice and bring out the talent within you don't number many in this academy. Including me, there are only 3 who are capable of such a feat. The other 2 already stopped accepting students 3 years ago. It'll be difficult for you to acknowledge them as your teacher, even if I were to speak up for you. Stopped accepting students? Although her hopes had been raised by Xavier's compliments, upon hearing those words, her heart sank. She then had a thought. They aren't accepting students, but, teacher, are you accepting any? Of course I am. Just that, as you could tell, I am indifferent to fame and fortune, and I don't have much time to spare either. A look of difficulty flashed across Xavier's face. If one isn't a superior jade, I won't take them in, even if our paths cross. Before he could finish his words, she had already kneeled onto the floor. I know that teacher is a powerful expert, but please accept me as your student. I'll train diligently so as to not embarrass you. A surge of joy gushed through Xavier's heart, but on the surface, he maintained a conflicted expression. Fate has brought us together, but as you can see, I prefer to pass my time quietly. As your student, I promise to never interrupt you, unless it's an emergency. Seeing that he was still reluctant, she nodded vigorously with an earnest look on her face. Xavier sighed and responded. I don't have many students, and the resources I have cannot be compared to other teachers. Also, you might be criticized by others. Is that so? I have heard that training resources are important. The resources a teacher could claim from the academy were directly related to the quantity and results of his students, among numerous other factors. These resources were of extreme importance, and without them, it would be difficult to increase and level up one's cultivation. I actually only said that to test you. Since you're determined and sincere, I'll grudgingly accept you. Noticing her hesitation, Xavier enthusiastically said, Let's affirm our relationship then. Huh? She didn't expect the teacher before her to change his attitude as quickly as he did. Taken aback, she grabbed the token Xavier passed to her. This token would represent her identity as Xavier's student if she were to verify it. Just as she was considering whether she would affirm the relationship, she felt the reserved teacher pull her hand over to him and cut a small wound with a sharp dagger. A drop of her blood fell on the jade token. A light flashed. Ah! The young woman was quite dumbfounded. Didn't the teacher say that he had to consider the matter carefully? Indifferent to fame and fortune, was it? If that was the case, why was his movement so fast, and why had he already prepared his dagger? From now on, you are my student. After the blood authentication, Xavier heaved a huge sigh of relief. Continuing to assume the disposition of an unworldly expert, he asked her what her name was. Knowing that the decision couldn't be revoked, she chose not to dawdle on the matter and replied respectfully. Teacher, I am Rose Ellison. Xavier waved his hands. Go, collect your bedding and books through your identity token and find yourself lodging. We shall begin lessons tomorrow here. Rose nodded before turning around to leave. Having successfully admitted a student, Xavier heaved a sigh of relief and smiled. It really wasn't easy to play the role of an expert. Now that he was relieved of his fear of being expelled from the academy, his spirit felt much more relaxed. Gradually, the obsession lingering in his mind disappeared. Oh, rest assured, now that I'm in your body, I'll live properly in your place. The previous Xavier died because of his inability to bring in new students. His regrets were so strong that they continued to linger in this world even after his death. This new student had fulfilled his last regret, and thus his lingering will fade. Xavier had finally gained complete control over this body. After settling this matter, Xavier intended to continue coaxing a few more students in. However, he suddenly felt a tremor and heard the sound of harps playing in his head.
The callous heavens regard all beings as nothing more than straw dogs. The sun sets and the moon wanes. The heavens are imperfect.
These lines played in the back of his mind before he suddenly heard another loud noise. He felt faint-hearted. Then, in his mind, a massive palace appeared. Above the entrance, 3 words glowed brightly on a plaque. The Divine Library. Xavier pushed open the door and walked in. Innumerable bookshelves stood tall and mighty across the vast space, and countless books of all kinds filled the empty spaces between. The area was so immense that he couldn't even see the other end.
Could this be the gift pack for Transcenders? A library? Damn it. I had been a librarian in my previous life. Am I to continue with this occupation in this life as well? The gift packs that others received had been some useful texts, systems, or some overpowered tool. And my gift pack is a library?
Xavier's vision turned dark.
A library? What purpose does it serve?
Will I be throwing books in fights when the others are throwing swords around? Forget it. I should take a look at the books first. Helpless, Xavier reached out to grab a book from one of the bookshelves. However, his hand simply passed through the bookshelf, causing him to grab empty air.
Are you joking? Giving me a library yet preventing me from grabbing and reading any of the books? What exactly is this?
Xavier was speechless. An urge to cry overwhelmed him, but tears refused to spill out.